buttons, Ella Armbruster on radio replay, and of course the entire WAER sports desk. And with that, it's time for the double overtime up until 10 p.m. You can always join the conversation. A lot to talk about here with this one, 315-443-2011 with our host AJ Myers and Jared Valentin. Guys, really a disappointing effort for Syracuse. All they needed to do was win a game. They're in the ACC tournament, but once again, their inability to play a full 40 minutes is the difference in this one.
Spot on, Corey. Great to hear from you as always. And heck, Jared, I mean, Syracuse was in this game. They played a pretty good basketball game for the most part. They didn't close the game out too well. But once again, there's a lot of clouds and uncertainty with this program, and this loss just kind of captivates that.
I mean, Syracuse flat out shot the best it has all season, and it didn't matter because of how bad the defense was. I mean, when you shoot over 50% from the field and from three and over 80% from the line and you still lose, that's unacceptable. And Syracuse's paint defense in particular was unacceptable. I'm sure you have a lot of frustrations, AJ. I certainly have a lot of frustrations. And somebody else who's going to join us later in the show definitely does as well. One of our play-by-play broadcasters, Jish Sokolsky, joining us later on in the show from down in North Carolina. And yeah, I'm excited for what he has to say.
Definitely, and there's not much season left for you to call in as well, so be sure to hear your voices on the double overtime, which starts right now.
The game may be over, but our coverage on WAER is not. Here on the double overtime, we'll be breaking down all the highs.
Carlos kicks out. Freeman contested three. It doesn't matter. It swirls home. The horn sounds, and Donnie Freeman sends this team into the locker room jumping for joy.
Starling from the right wing gets down the lane. His righty layup goes, and the Orange lead.
He's calling all the way for it. Wants it on Suarez. Spins back to his right. Baby hook up, and it goes. And one. Eddie Lampkin rocks the baby around the three-point line.
And the lows.
100 matchups between Georgetown and Syracuse. A long 95-year history. The rivalry is alive and well, and today the victors is Georgetown.
Low slices through the defense. Behind the back pass. Corhen sticks it up and in. A little razzle-dazzle from Jalen Lowe to Cam Corhen. And that one may be the dagger.
And thus ends the second season under Adrian Autry. And it finishes in the second round of the ACC tournament in 2025.
Delivering our hottest takes along the way.
But it just makes you wonder what is going on in practice, because each time that Adrian Autry takes the podium, it's a lot of, we're working on it.
We're getting better.
We're working on it. We're getting better. We're getting better. Well, sure. Maybe in theory they're getting better.
But
this is a fan base that needs you to be good now.
Say this about Syracuse basketball is crazy, because the brand of Syracuse basketball that I grew up knowing is so far distant from where this team is at now. But I mean, we could be talking about Syracuse at the bottom of the ACC.
I don't think this team makes the ACC tournament at this rate.
Get your voice heard by calling in at 315-443-2011 or check out our YouTube at WAER Sports Talk. It's the double overtime, and it starts right now.
Welcome inside to the double overtime. AJ Myers joined alongside Jared Valentin, recapping Wake Forest against Syracuse. The Orange fall by 8 to the Demon Deacons. It was a fun basketball game, back and forth, a lot of high pace, high tempo, and we got some career highs on the day too. Jared, 28 points from Donnie Freeman, and then for Wake Forest, they had quite the performance from Miles Colvin.
He 32 points.
32. That was quite the performance. And we got our first caller, which is awesome. Dave from Liverpool, you want to talk about Miles and the performance that he had. Dave, did it come a little bit too easy for him, though, today?
You know, I looked up what he did last game against Boston College. He didn't score any points at all, and today he scored 32.
That's not good.
That's quite a change from game to game.
Yep.
Yeah, especially from downtown, not scoring at all to all of a sudden having a 30 bomb, missing only 3 shots on the day and missing only 1 3-pointer, going 7 for 8. I mean, he was flat out spectacular. Syracuse didn't really close out on him at all, and really he just tore up the Syracuse defense, Steve.
And I want to make one more point that's very important.
Go ahead, all you.
One of the reasons why I want Autry to be fired is because today's a perfect example. How many times was Starling caught down low with their big man
Yes.
Okay?
Too many.
Our big man should not be coming out because Wake Forest did not have a 6'10" center that could shoot the three like some other teams in the ACC. There was no reason for Freeman or Kyle or any tall player, which we don't have very many, to come out far from the basket, okay? Because so many times our guards were mismatched down low with their big guys.
Yeah. Dave, you're spot on. And Dave, I want to make this point on the offensive end. How does J.J. Starling go from 22 points against UNC to 2 points? That's got to be on coaching too, right?
I don't understand
the offense.
Was it tougher
I don't
for
think any
Starling
of us
to get
do.
by his man this game?
Yeah.
And one thing I can say is every player on Syracuse cannot play defense. They never stay in front
Especially
of their man.
today.
You remember that
Especially
time when
paint.
Kyle let the guy go right around him, right to the basket?
Yep. Yeah, it's just the synopsis of this season. Dave, we appreciate the call, as always, and the great insight that you provide. If you want to sound like Dave, you can give us a shout at 315-443-2011. Give us your thoughts on this game. Let's talk about that shooting, because it was a really good offensive display at times from Syracuse today. But, Jared, there's still things that perplex me so much about this team. And, everyone wants to have the debate, the two roads. Is it a talent issue or is it a coaching issue? I think it can be a little bit of both, but I think when a player goes from 22 points like J.J. Starling had against UNC to 2 points, what he had today against a bad Wake Forest team that clearly doesn't play that good at defense because Syracuse shot the lights out and they had one of their best offensive displays of the season.
Right.
That goes on coaching because clearly J.J. Starling has all the talent in the world to score 22 points. But then he puts up an egg and puts 2 points up today, and we've seen that throughout the season. Look at Nate Kings. Look at his box score. It goes like 27 to 5 to 17 to 2. It's ridiculous, and for me, that falls on coaching.
It's flat out unacceptable, and you read my mind because I was going to bring up Nate Kings. He goes from having one of the best weeks of the season in terms of what he did against Cal, then hits the game winner against SMU, and then puts up, 4 points in the loss to North Carolina. And granted, J.J. Starling is lucky that Donnie Freeman and Nate Kings both had great games today. Donnie Freeman, a career high, 28 points, and Nate Kings, 20 points. That really seems to overshadow the fact that Starling had 2 points. And if those two guys didn't really go off like they did, I think more people would be even talking about that Starling lack of performance. I mean, when you go 1 for 6 from the field, after having a season high in points, like you mentioned, that just can't happen.
No, it can't. And it just happens way too much this season. And
Too
really,
streaky.
so give credit to Sadiq White. He had a solid game, 12 points. He had a
He
really
was great early on.
he
He
had
had
a
those
really
threes.
good dunk there. It was near the end of the first half that really brought the roof down. Great call by Jish, and we'll hear from Jish a little bit later on in the show. But there were some really good signs offensively, and I think it's interesting, and I'm really curious to see hopefully Adrian Autry can explain this post-game. Was the game plan to shoot more threes from the get-go? Because they really weren't driving into the paint, especially early on. It was all just kicking out and hoping to get some threes to drop, which they did. I mean, the threes to start the game, I wrote it down here, 4 of 8 on threes.
Right.
That's really impressive because there's times when this team goes 0 for 5
Absolutely.
from beyond the arc to start games.
Syracuse was coming off of a game against North Carolina where it shot under 20% from 3. And Syracuse has done that only twice this season, but I think it more so, instead of it being the game plan, I think Syracuse just took with the shots that Wake Forest was giving them because a lot of those three-pointers early on from Donnie Freeman, from Nate Kings, they were all wide-open, good shots. So Syracuse was taking good shots that the defense was giving them, and I think that's what led to that success more so than just saying, oh, we're going to go out and shoot the lights out because this is a team that can't shoot the lights out. Syracuse just took those open shots that Wake was giving them.
Jackson from Syracuse, you want to talk about the state of the team? Jackson, you're on the double overtime.
This is Action Jackson, bled orange my entire life, graduated there, alumni. I'll tell you right now, doesn't matter if Kyan Anthony is playing 7 minutes and getting 0 buckets.
I was going to mention that, yes.
We have no scheme, zero scheme. 2-3 zone for 2 minutes, and we're playing man-to-man. This Autry guy is scared of his own players. Boeheim would put fear into his players because fear was not making the ACC tournament. Fear was not making the NCAA tournament. He's afraid of his own teammate, his players being afraid
no
of
urgency.
him.
No
it's
urgency.
sickening. It's sad.
Jackson, the paint today was like an open driveway. Just everyone was getting into the paint as easily as they wanted for Wake Forest. I mean, I'm going to put it in this way. Wake Forest had 46 points in the paint.
Yep.
Syracuse had 46 points in the first half. When Syracuse
I
was
would
shooting
love
the
to, I
lights
would
out-
love
Go
to
ahead.
know the stat on how many points in the paint this entire year.
Yeah.
Because I've never seen more give and goes
It's insane.
against a team that is an ACC freaking national championship team in my life.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
It is. And
Well, yeah, we got Kyle. He'll do one block here, one block there. I mean, we can't even get our own rebounds
And then
down
Wake
low
gets the
because
rebound.
no
That's where I
one
was
is
just gonna go.
crashing the boards.
no, especially at the end of the game there, they were trying to crawl back in and they couldn't get a defensive rebound. Wake Forest got a big offensive rebound at the end of the game that really cost them. Jackson, I want to know big picture here. You know, you say you're a Syracuse fan your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Not, how you're going to fix it, that's too long of a question, that's too long of an answer. Immediately though, what do you want to happen in the ACC tournament and at the end of the season?
Well, listen, I'm a fan of teams that are winners, okay? And to be a winner, you need a leader that has won.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Joe Torre. He was a player for the Yankees and won a World Series and then became manager. You look at Gerard, the same thing. You know what we need? We need a winner to coach this team. And guess who is the first freaking name to mind for every diehard Syracuse fan? Jerry McNamara. Jerry McNamara is the saving grace of this organization. Because guess what? No one else can do this. The rest of this entire school is banking on people that are afraid of facing success. Jerry McNamara, freshman NCAA champion. Look at him at Siena with an Onuaku, who was the last real center we had.
Yeah, but Jackson, he hasn't won anything yet at Siena. He had great success as a player, but what has he done at Siena?
Siena, he's brought a DQ team to be a contender in 2 years. He hasn't had to spend an entire lifetime of growing a team. And I promise you right now, Jerry McNamara is a coach that it's not about the money. Because these players will be playing for somebody that has won, and that is priceless. You can't buy championships.
I think in today's era you can, but Jackson, we appreciate the call as always. Great thoughts here on the Double
It's Action
Overtime.
Jackson, thanks for having me.
Of course,
Let's
thank
go
you so
Cubs.
much. 315-443-2011 is the number if you want to get your thoughts on the air, if you want to throw out a head coaching name. I'm all here for it. In the start
We're
of the
taking
year,
suggestions.
start the year, Jared, I hated when callers would call in and be like, I want this coach or that coach.
Felt like we were hearing I want Mello after every
but
double overtime.
but I've now reached a point where I know that is the inevitable, so I am open to hear a suggestion. I have my concerns with McNamara. He's a fantastic player. He's doing good at Siena, but it's Siena to Syracuse is a major jump. And also, I don't want to just throw shame at Adrian Autry. Adrian Autry was a great player here. Adrian Autry was a winner here too. So you cannot. For me, that comparison is irrelevant. That he knows winning or anything like that. So I don't know, why you throw those comparisons out. And also, to win in college athletics now, money is what matters most. So I also agree with that point too.
Yeah, we're in that era now, whether you like it or not. And we had this discussion earlier about, is this the team struggles on coaching or on the players? And one of the team aspects that is flat out on coaching, and we talked about this a little bit already with Dave, is just the paint defense, or just the defense as a whole. I want to go back to that because that cannot be ignored, how bad the paint defense was today. The absolute worst performance defensively that I have witnessed this season from Syracuse. I talked already about how it was 46 points in the paint. When Syracuse was shooting that well in the first half, they shot over 50%. They were hitting seemingly every three-pointer. They totaled 46 points total.
I think another reason
and Wake
is
Forest had that many in the paint.
I know, and I think another reason is, and this goes back to roster construction. Outside of William Kyle, there is no center.
Yeah,
flat out. There's no backup big.
Guys were
so
getting
that is
open.
a problem.
Right.
And you look at Alex Klein for that. That's where you don't put the finger at Adrian Autry. You can point the finger at Alex Klein. I'm not defending Autry on everything, but I'm just saying roster construction.
And the thing is, too, defensively, guys were just for Wake Forest. Guys were just getting open on backdoor cuts every single time, and that's how they got it going from inside the paint in the first half. And then in the second half, when Wake Forest was taking the lead and Syracuse was playing back against the wall a little bit and was trying to climb back down the stretch, I mean, the Demon Deacons were just imposing their will time and time again. I mean, down the stretch, it's a bunch of layups and a bunch of dunks. The final handful of plays, 5.5 minutes to go, Spillers gets a dunk. Then he goes on the other end and gets a dunk again. Then another layup, and 2 more layups after that. I mean, nearly all of the final points from Wake Forest today, from the 7.5 minute mark to the end of the game, are either layups, dunks, or free throws. That can't happen, especially when Wake Forest was doing that all game long in the first half. No adjustment defensively, and that's why you lose the game down the stretch.
Certainly. Jim from East Syracuse is on the line. Oh, Jim, you want to discuss my least favorite term, level 5 defense. What do you got to say on that?
Well, we supposedly started the season playing level 5 defense,
Once
and it
upon a
worked for
time.
about 6 games, but the players don't respect Autry enough to play hard like that.
No, you're spot
And the
on.
other thing I wanted to say, we were ahead in the game, and all of a sudden we went to a zone, and the 2 things happened against the zone. Number 1, a second shot, and number 2, a three-pointer.
Miles Colvin, that's what happened.
And we came out of a timeout and had a 30-second violation.
Yes, that is
Didn't
ridiculous.
even get a shot off after a timeout.
That's
And
ridiculous.
then they came down off an out-of-bounds play and got a basket. How many out-of-bounds plays have we gotten a basket off of this year? Not too many.
No.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Thank God Autry's going to be gone.
Yes, well,
Bye.
Jim. No, wait. Okay, Jim wants to leave. All right, I want everyone that calls in. I give a name for a head coach. I just want to know what everyone's.
We want suggestions.
Yeah, I just
want to.
What's everyone thinking?
We want opinions.
Is it an in-house hire? Is it an out-of-house hire? I just want to know what people are thinking. Jim brought up a great play that I think we need to touch on, and that is the ridiculous shot clock violation coming out of a timeout, Jared. That simply can't happen.
There's no explanation for that. There's no excuse for that. To not get a shot off. It's one thing if you maybe miss a good shot or get a good shot and you miss,
or
okay.
a good defensive play if it gets deflected
and
or
you
something.
make up for it on the other end and get the ball back. Maybe you get something easy in transition. To not get a shot off after a timeout in which you were presumably talking about ways to get shots off and in, that can't happen. There's no instance where that can happen.
There is a clear divide from player to coach. And I think that is something that has flipped as the season has worn on. Because I think when the season started, I think the players respected Autry. I think they still respect him, but they were buying into what he was saying.
They were a lot more bought in.
I don't like they were bought into the juicing station. They were bought into this level 5 stuff, which I never liked from the start, but whatever. And now it's totally flipped.
I mean,
and you hear it in their voices too. It's totally gone, and that's what a long bad season can do to a team. It can just suck the life out of them.
It could mentally just deteriorate at you as the games go on. Yeah. And there was one timeout huddle in particular where the TV broadcast panned to the camera of the huddle, and guys were just monotone, serious face. They looked disappointed.
Elsewhere.
They looked mentally defeated, looking elsewhere, like you just said. I mean, they haven't been bought in for a long time, and it's unfortunate that the defense was really good to start the season. Granted, they were playing a lot of worse opponents, right? Binghamton, Delaware State, and all that, but the defense was still really good. And for what it has devolved into, it's such a shame. And especially when you get out-rebounded by 12, when you let guys get into the paint easy and get them easy layups and dunks and whatnot, and when William Kyle in the final minute of the game does not get a rebound that he's seemingly open for and has no one else contesting him and boxing out for it, that can't happen. There's so many things that, AJ, we talk about that just can't happen with this team, and they're happening over and over and over again, and it gets to a point where you just got to lose faith.
It's been the story of the season. Michael from Manly says an MVP for Syracuse this season.
Ooh,
Michael, who you got?
All right, for this game.
This game. Yeah, let's hear it.
All right, so they tied the motorcycle routine in the start of the game to psych us out, and they couldn't psych out our best player. Our best player was Mr. Rim on that one side of the court, guys.
Yeah, it was
Because
favorable.
They were making threes like they were nothing in the first half. And then their guy missed a slam dunk on us in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
So my MVP is Mr. Rim, and we got Fate. So that's what I'm hanging my hat on this game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Mr. Rim got Syracuse that start early on and was really, helping the Orange making 3-point shots, which is something that we AJ and I talked about that really hasn't happened a ton this season. And, it can only help so much when the defense doesn't match what the offense is producing, AJ, and that's what happened, especially down the stretch. Syracuse shot well, shot over 50% from the field, over 50% from three. Nate Kings and Donnie Freeman combined for 48 points, but in the end, that defense just couldn't keep up.
315-443-2011 is the number to call into the double overtime. AJ Myers alongside Jared Valentin recapping Syracuse's 88-83 defeat in this one. Yet another conference loss for the Orange. Their record now is at 15-14, a brutal 6-10 in the ACC. There is still a way somehow. I'm not doing the math. If you want to do the math, call in and tell me how you did the math. They missed the ACC tournament, but they're most likely going to go to Charlotte for the ACC tournament and play in a 14-13 or 12-15 matchup there in the ACC tournament. So there is some games to be played.
They'll get a game at the very least.
Yeah, this was the penultimate away game, a true away game or road game for the Orange. They got Louisville on Tuesday. But again, if you want to call in, 315-443-2011 is the number to call in to the double overtime to get your thoughts on this one. And this really exciting first half performance from the Orange, especially from shooting. We've emphasized it, Jared. They shot the ball really well. And credit to Donnie Freeman. I mean, he needed a get-right game, and he really had it. 9 of 13 today. And, I mean, when the shots are falling for him, he looks like an NBA player. You understand why he's on the draft boards and all this. Because he looks like Kevin. I've always said this. He looks like Kevin Durant sometimes when he's out there. He really does look like a player that can dominate games and be a player for this team. But ultimately, we never saw that the entire season. And quite frankly, we didn't see it enough in the second half. For me, in the second half, he drifted away. I know he still scored, but it seemed like baskets that didn't have any impact to the outcome.
Right, and they were a lot tougher baskets. And in particular, in the beginning of the game, when he had 2 threes to start the game, and both were just wide open. Wide open looks that he just calmly made, and that gave Syracuse an early start. And when he's taking those open shots or being aggressive and getting to the paint and using kind of his size to body the defenders that Wake Forest has, or really any opposition in general, you can see the potential that he has as somebody who can get drafted maybe in that first round and maybe in the back half of that first round that a couple of lottery projections have him as. He can be a guy like that, but it's just not consistent enough this season. And that's really a theme to a lesser extent with a lot of the other players, where the potential that this team had in the beginning was so promising. You had a guy like Nate George who came into the team after leading the ACC in assists last year with over 7 a game for Georgia Tech. You had a shot blocker like William Kyle who was searching for a bigger opportunity. You had guys like Nate Kings and Tyler Betsy come in who wanted more of a bigger role. And this team really had that whole potential, and game by game by game, it started off promising. I know we keep talking about it, but it's really just fallen off from what once was with this team. And going back to Donnie Freeman, he just has that potential, but you got to see it more night in and night out.
Certainly, and it's just it's perplexing because there's so many players on this team where you just don't see it night in and night out. And
we talked about Starling and Nate Kings earlier in the show.
That quite frankly goes right to coaching. There's no way to navigate around that. That falls strictly on the coaching,
right?
And just the lack of scheme at times that Adrian Autry has. And I know, Jared, you were quite angry with the missed rebound.
Yeah,
towards the end of the stretch, because
that can happen.
Yes, like with many games, Syracuse could have won this game. This could have been a win. You could
add this
to
how bad the defense was.
Yeah,
they could have won.
Yes, add this to the grocery list of games that Syracuse potentially could have won this season, because if they get that rebound there, I think it was a 4-point game at the time where William Kyle totally missed out on a box out. They blow the defensive rebound.
And they had enough time to at least get a quick shot off.
Get a quick
the other
2.
End, maybe push it in transition.
Foul again, 2-point game. Obviously, everyone's watched a million college basketball games. You know how they can swing so quickly. There was an opportunity to get a win today, and they just squandered it because of little simple things.
Yeah, William Kyle doesn't get that board. Donnie Freeman gets the layup, which keeps them in it. What really confused me down the stretch was one name that was not in the game in those final moments.
Yes.
And that's Nate Kings.
Mm-hmm.
Second on the team in scoring today with 20 points. Had only 6 of those in the second half, but was still doing really well for this team. and was just not in down the stretch when you needed a guy that can score. Now, Tyler Betsy was in. Maybe you want the shooting aspect that he provides.
I think Adrian Autry brings Tyler Betsy in because of his size. I genuinely think that is why he has him as a makeshift offensive center because William Kyle is so lackluster offensively.
And he can be a guy that can shoot it if he's open and make it at one of arguably the best clip on this team.
He had 10 points.
So it makes sense to have him in there, I guess. But I'm, like I said, confused that Nate Kings was not in the game down the stretch. So they took out Nate Kings, they put Tyler Betsy in. But I would argue, why not keep Nate Kings in because he's performing for you in the scheme this entire game. And you keep
wasn't in foul trouble.
Right.
To mention.
Yeah. You were shocked that he wasn't fouled out when we were
I was like,
did
he foul out? Did I miss 5 Nate Kings fouls?
And I was like, wait, where is he in the game? And then I realized, he has just one foul.
Yeah.
Why isn't he in down the stretch? Nate George was in down the stretch, and granted, he had 10 assists, right? He did a good job today in terms of finding open guys and getting, the offense kind of facilitated. But when you're down in crunch time like that, you need scorers. You need guys like Freeman, like Starling when he is, when he's on one, right? You need guys that can score, create shots. I mean, Nate Kings was the guy who took the game winner and won it for Syracuse against SMU 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And Adrian Autry praised him after the game, saying that we wanted him, saying that they went to him in particular, saying that we knew he could get a shot off and we knew he could get something in the paint in a limited amount of time. And that's what happened. And 2 weeks later, against a worse Wake Forest team, you don't put him in for the final stretch of the game. You don't look to him as a guy that can get you going and to close that gap and maybe force overtime. That's ridiculous. It's that flip-flopping that we keep talking about night in and night out. And it can't happen. Kings should have been in the game down the stretch.
What is frustrating you most with Adrian Autry's coaching? He may not have many games head coaching this team anymore left, but is there something today that really frustrated you with Autry? Because, again, not to put all the blame on Coach Autry because he's not in an easy position.
He's not on the court.
That too. He's not on the court. He's not in an easy position, especially at this point when you're in a losing team. The whole fan base is against you. But me and Jared have picked out quite a few things that have bugged us with his lackluster coaching today. Give us a call, 315-443-2011. Is there an aspect that you really didn't like from Coach Autry today? We'd love to hear your thoughts here on the Double Overtime. AJ Myers alongside Jared Valentine. Syracuse drops another conference game, 88-83 to Wake Forest. I agree, Jared. I'm going to piggyback off your point with the substitutions. His substitution patterns in general.
Yeah.
I've just never really understood it. He does the hockey line changes where he basically brings in 3 or 4 players at once, and I find it really weird when there's times in the game when either Freeman and Kings aren't on the floor or Starling and Freeman aren't on the floor together. It's like, why are you bringing out your 3 best players, your 3 most offensive, threatening players out of the game?
And the guys who are doing well for you in that particular
especially
moment.
It's like he's set in his ways with the substitution patterns, especially late in games. Like today when Wake Forest, I think it was around the 10-minute mark, they go on a 14-5 run. They stretched the lead to 5, and at that point, the largest lead for Wake Forest, it was either like 2 or 3.
It was still a close game.
Yeah, that was the run that Syracuse really didn't need, and it happened. And it feels like every game, and this was just another example, you're waiting for that crumble from SU and the Wake Forest
that inevitable
lead to commence.
Yeah, and we talk about Nate Kings not playing, and that down the stretch, I mean, you got to have a guy like that in there who's performing for you at that given moment. You got to treat the guys, you got to reward the guys who are playing well down the stretch or in that particular moment in the game, right? When you have a guy like Nate Kings who's doing well, you have to keep him in. You have to keep the guys who are hot on the court because they can give you those offensive buckets and they can give you those opportunities that Syracuse certainly needed and certainly didn't get. And this has been an issue with Autry, not just this season. This was an issue last year when guys were playing well and suddenly getting taken out of the game. I believe it was Lucas Taylor. I was on the double overtime for this. I believe it was the SMU game last year where Lucas Taylor had, I want to say it was 10 points in like the first 10 minutes of the first half, and then ends up being a close game. Syracuse loses, and Lucas Taylor was not in the game down the stretch. And I was really confused, and I was like, why is he not playing if he was doing so well? And it's been a consistent issue for this last year. You talk about the rotations as a whole. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's continued over year over year.
Exactly. It's overlapped into this season, and it doesn't make sense why guys who are playing well are not playing in the biggest moments down the stretch.
Yeah, and Wake Forest, they got a late lead, 64-62. That was their first lead since 14-13. So it showed
only 3 lead changes.
Yeah, it showed the control. That shows control from Syracuse, and that's where you got to give them credit. They played a good game. They had control especially in that first half. The game wasn't getting away from them.
Right.
But then in the worst moment,
They were
late
leading
second
the first
half, right after the under 8 timeout, that's where things just start to slip away, and it's just like a slip and slide
And
with
it's
this
like
team.
every
When
game.
it starts to slip away, it's hard for them to crawl back into games. There's only been a few instances where they've been able to sneak back in games. I think you
Right.
go as far back to that Houston game when all they needed to do was hit a few free throws, and it would not have slipped
Right.
away, but they missed from the line, and then the game crumbles right under their feet.
And Syracuse actually shot pretty well from the line today.
They-
14 of 17.
The shooting was great.
The
from
shooting
the
all around
What
was
was it? The
spectacular.
rims. Credit the rims
The
in Wake
rims,
Forest.
right,
Bring those
exactly.
rims back to the Dome. I know there's only one home game left.
Steal the rims, bring them back
Yeah.
to Syracuse, and maybe that can maintain itself against Pittsburgh, or bring it on the bus to Louisville, right?
Mhm.
The 50% from the field, 80% from the line, which impressed me because this is a team that for most of the first half of the season and really most of the season in general kind of has struggled from the free throw line. You mentioned the struggles that they had against Houston. That was why they lost that game. But Syracuse did well from the charity stripe, 82%, and it still just doesn't matter. Like no matter what positive things we take away from this game, whether it's offensively, maybe a couple of defensive plays early on, or not really. Down the stretch, at the end of the day, Syracuse lost by 5. And it's like Syracuse had such a great game on the offensive side, and they still lost by 5 to a Wake Forest team that's not great, AJ. And it makes you wonder when Syracuse plays some of these good teams in the ACC tournament, because they're inevitably going to be a very low seed, how are they going to fare? And in fact, we've seen that answer, and it's not well. Syracuse has struggled against all the best teams in the conference, a lot of those being some of the best teams in the country, and it's very concerning, to say the least.
It is. And again, I just think it's important to emphasize the shooting numbers from Syracuse. 50% from the three.
That's
I mean,
unheard of for this team.
And this is a team
Syracuse
that
is one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the conference.
And the way they started this game, this is definitely something I'm curious to ask just a little later on. He was on the call for this one. But was that the game plan? Was the game plan to just really go out and fire a blaze from beyond the arc?
Yeah.
Because it worked. And if it
worked.
didn't
It definitely
work,
worked.
Wake Forest could have been out to a 15-5 start or 15-2 start possibly.
And that's happened against some teams that Syracuse has played against this year, where the shots don't fall right away, and then Syracuse, early in the minutes in the first half, are down by double digits. And luckily that didn't happen because Syracuse was shooting the lights out, like you mentioned. So I'm also curious to see what Jish has to say about that, and if head coach Adrian Autry has anything in particular to say. And I'm also very curious about, I keep talking about the defense, but that interior defense in particular. Why was there no adjustment from that first half to that second half?
Because you were clearly getting outmatched on the paint.
Clearly. And they were getting
blatant.
so many easy buckets that it was just like, how do you not make an adjustment? I'm very curious why, if he speaks on anything related to the interior defense. I know you want to know about the three-point shooting. And yeah,
Because I'm
time
just
will tell.
surprised how much they took 3-point
Yeah.
wise. Like I just didn't. I was.
They played with a level of confidence early on in this game that hasn't been there for a decent amount of games this season.
Yeah, I guess. And I think it will be interesting. We got John from Liverpool on the line. John, you want to talk about J.J. Starling?
Yeah, but first let me mention that I couldn't believe that I believe they were coming out of a timeout with about 3-4 minutes to go where they didn't remember how much time was on the clock. And the shot clock expired as Donnie's trying to back it down. You should have your teammates should be yelling out to you, Donnie, put it up.
Coaches too.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Say it
John, John, you're the second caller to bring that up, and I know AJ was really frustrated in particular about how you don't get a shot off there, especially when you're coming out of a timeout, and that's what one would think what you're talking about, and Syracuse just doesn't execute after presumably coming up with a plan in the timeout huddle. They just couldn't do it.
John, is there any other key aspects that you were really frustrated coaching-wise from Autry today?
Not so much coaching-wise. I thought that the players just. You had a couple guys that didn't show up today for some reason.
Yeah.
The main one was Starling. I don't understand what he put up. His first shot he put up was like halfway through the second half or something.
I know.
I didn't understand why he wasn't attacking. You can't win if one of your star players, and I do believe he is one of the better players.
He showed it against UNC.
Have a game like this.
Yeah.
Say it again.
He showed it against UNC. He had 22 points. He looked great. J.J. Starling.
He didn't do the penetrate and the soft floater where he gets to the line. When he's really playing good, he can get to the line.
Yeah.
No, he had a terrible game, and I think that was the reason they lost.
Do you think there's a lack of buy-in now? John, have we reached that point in the season where the buy-in between player and coach is just gone?
Well, I don't understand. Sometimes it seems like Starling's not interested.
I think there's more than a few players.
I think it's more than just Starling.
Yeah.
But he's your senior.
Yeah.
He should be, if there's a team leader, it should be him. In theory, it should be your senior. So, it's, I don't expect much, probably an early exit out of the ACC tournament, and let's see what happens next year.
Yep, definitely. John, thanks so much for the call. We appreciate it. We're going to keep this conversation rolling on the other side of what we did and did not like from this Wake Forest performance, because there were some good things to highlight. But as always with Syracuse men's basketball this season, there are negatives to talk about. I got a few more to mention. I know Jarrett does as well. That's all on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
Toby meets John, and John likes dogs too. And John tells Toby the sweet nothings, but John's incarcerated. So what would be the harm in sneaking John a phone? For Snap Judgment's Fever series, The Crate Escape. Snap Judgment. Do not miss it.
Sunday morning at 10 on 88.3 FM WAER.
Hi, I'm Dwayne Kokenauer, the host of Sunday Night Blues, airing on Sundays from 5 p.m. till 8 p.m. on 88.3 FM WAER Syracuse or WAER.org. I play an eclectic mix of blues music, including Chicago, Delta, early, electric, jump, contemporary, and local blues. To hear the entire spectrum of blues music, tune in to Sunday Night Blues with Dwayne Kokenauer.
Do you want something new and different to listen to? Try Top of the World on WAER with your hosts, Mark Bostic and Connie Whaler. You can hear popular contemporary music from all over the world, such as Afrobeat, salsa, bossa nova, ska, and garifuna. Sundays from 8 to 11 p.m.
Takes a bump. Pass Freeman. Wide open right wing three. Kaboom! Donnie Freeman starts the game with a bang.
The best shooting performance of the season was not enough for Syracuse, and the Orange fall to Wake Forest 88-83 on the road. Welcome back into the double overtime, everyone. Jared Valentin, AJ Myers with you up until 10 o'clock, breaking down this 5-point loss in SU's third to last game of the regular season. We've had a lot of callers so far, and we want a lot more. So get your thoughts in. Call in at 315-443-2011. That's 315-443-2011. AJ,
hold on, before you carry on. What I want to hear from the callers, I'm just curious, what has been the most annoying thing this season? Like, there's been so many frustrating aspects, but like, what has been really annoying? Like, what's the top of your list when you watch this?
We want to hear you vent.
That you're just like, oh my gosh, like, why do they keep doing this over and over again?
Yes.
That's what I want to know.
Let us know what has frustrated you the most this season. And AJ, we're going to talk about what we didn't like a bit later. But for now, there were some positives that we talked about a little bit earlier in the show, and we're going to go back and forth. I'm going to let you have the floor first, and then I'll get into my list. We'll kind of go back and forth here. What we liked, and then later on, what we did not like from Syracuse in this 5-point loss. And AJ, the floor is yours to go first.
I think you got to give them credit. They kept the game close in the first half especially. There's been so many times, one of the most agitating things for me is that when I watch an Adrian Autry coach team is that he does these line substitutions, and there are just lulls in the game where the other team just totally stretches the advantage either by just upping the defensive intensity, getting simple rebounds, which we saw today the whole game. I mean, Syracuse just had a terrible job rebounding, and just offensive presence in the paint today was just so lackluster from this team. But today, especially in that first half, give them credit. They kept the game close, and I think partially, when I was watching the first half, I was like, "Oh, like this is a good change of pace." Right. They're sticking around.
Surprised.
They're sticking around. But now that I look back to it, I just think they just happen to be shooting the ball so well, And, in a basketball game, anyone that's played basketball before, sometimes you just have that touch going the right way. And I think that ultimately is why the game went the way it went.
Right, and that leads perfectly right into my first area of Syracuse's play today that I'm most happy about. Pleasantly surprised, I'll say, what I liked the most from Syracuse, and that was the three-point shooting. I mean, Syracuse just flat out shot the lights out today in a way that we have not seen at all this season. 50% from the three-point arc, a season high. Donnie Freeman, Nate Kings in particular, got the three-point shooting started for Syracuse. Both of them combined for 7 3-pointers in the first half. Syracuse as a whole had 10 and shot 56% from deep in that first half, which was absolutely spectacular. Very impressed. And then in the second half, it dropped off a little bit, but you still had a handful of threes in there.
And that's inevitable. It's
right.
inevitably
you're
not going to shoot that well the whole game. I was going to say not even Duke would, but if you've watched this Duke team this year, maybe they would.
Anything's possible with the Blue Devils over there. But even Syracuse maybe didn't maintain it from three, but they certainly maintained it from the field because they shot 50% from the field in that second half and kept the game close even when Wake Forest was starting to get some big and easy buckets down the stretch. The three-point shooting and really the shooting as a whole today impressed me the most. But what impressed you the most? Let us know your thoughts at 315-443-2011 after Syracuse falls to Wake Forest 83-88. The Demon Deacons take it from down in North Carolina. Jared Valentin with A.J. Myers. We're on the double overtime up until 10 o'clock. A.J., your second thing that you were most impressed about with Syracuse today. Go ahead.
It was kind of hard to come up with, especially as that second half was starting to crumble away like we've seen all year long, really. But I thought there was a good aggressiveness scoring, not from J.J. Starling, not from Kai and Anthony.
2 points, 32 minutes from Starling.
Yeah, I think from Donnie Freeman and even Nate Kings, too. Nate Kings has such a clean three-point release. I could just watch Nate Kings shoot threes.
He's one of my favorite players on this team.
He's a very likable player on this Orange team. But the way he shoots three, it's very satisfying to watch. And you wish you could see more of it, more consistency of it. And I do wonder if he was a more consistent three-point shooter, maybe this team would have a few more W's in the column, but they don't. But I did think their aggressiveness helped them, and especially helped them stay in the game. I just wish that aggressiveness translated over to J.J. Starling and William Kyle, too. Usually you look at William Kyle, and it's like
30 points.
It's like 4 blocks, 2 steals. No blocks, no steals today. He was really uninvolved and unengaged. And that, again, I think slips into coaching.
How about this, AJ? He didn't take a single shot.
I know, that's
no
ridiculous.
No field goals today from William
How are you
Kyle.
a center and don't take a
starting
shot?
Center.
How are you a center and you don't have one put-back layup? How is that possible?
Points, an easy
How is that possible?
Maybe you get a pick and roll and you're wide open.
That is really bad.
From William
really,
Kyle
a center
today.
not even having a shot, that is really
That's
bad.
unacceptable. But for my second area that I've been impressed with for the most by Syracuse today, I'm going to go still on the offensive side. And in the first half, Syracuse shot the three ball really well, and in the second half, we talked about how that kind of dropped off a little bit. But an area where Syracuse really ramped it up in that second frame was being more aggressive, getting to the line, and making free throws. Just 2 free throws in this first half from Syracuse. They made both of them. And then in the second half, 12 of 15 from the charity stripe, shot over 80% from the entire game, ended up making 14 free throws. Syracuse did a great job of really, when it wasn't taking as many threes, kind of replacing that offense and going into the paint and drawing those opportunities. They made 14 free throws, and I know the bar is kind of low for Syracuse this season in terms of
that is
shooting.
pretty good. 82%.
So 82% is pretty good, and it's one of the better performances this team has had from the line. And so at the very least, when the threes weren't falling, Syracuse said, okay, maybe the threes aren't falling anymore. Let's go to the line and at least draw some opportunities.
But I would like more of an offensive plan, though, rather than just let's try the free throw line now.
Would you rather them keep taking 3-pointers?
No. How about some offensive plays?
Sure.
How about some plays to get in the paint? How about some lobs up to William Kyle? We just didn't see that, especially when Wake Forest went on that 14-0 run. I forget what the exact number was. It was like, oh, here comes Wake Forest. They're coming out of timeouts and scoring. And we're just either going to chuck up some threes or try and get to the free throw line. And credit to Syracuse. That's how they stayed in the game late. They made their free throws late.
There was a minute stretch early in the second half where Syracuse had 5 free throws back to back.
Yeah, I'm sure if Wake Forest lost this game, they'd probably be like, oh, Syracuse shot too many free throws. But I don't think the calls were anything egregiously bad or anything. But still, the offense is so broken for this team.
I know. The expectations are low, like we talked about earlier in the show. So when the bar is that low, when Syracuse does something as well as make free throws, which for any other team in college basketball, that would be like, oh, okay, that's the bare minimum. But for this Syracuse team, they make their free throws in a season where they really haven't in a lot of games, and you go, oh, okay, that's a bit impressive for this team. 315-443-2011 is how you join the show. Here on the Double Overtime up until 10 o'clock after Syracuse falls by 5 to Wake Forest on the road. AJ Myers, Jared Valentin with you here to break down this defeat. So I've said the three-point shooting and the area of, getting to the paint and drawing those fouls, that's what's impressed me the most. AJ, you said that keeping it close has been an area that impressed you so far, and aggressive scoring, but now it's time to go to what we did not like. And I know for you it's a laundry list. For me it's a laundry list. What were you most frustrated about first? I'll let you go first again.
Yeah, there's really only one thing. It's just the falling apart. The run that Wake Forest goes on, and there's just no response from this team. And that is the thing all season. A team goes on a run, and there's no response. Look at the Duke game.
No sense of urgency.
Duke went on that big run right at the end of the first half that killed them. They were in the game against Duke at times. They were hanging around with Duke. They were hanging around with UNC at times. But it's just one. UNC went on a run towards the end of the second half. I forget when it was, but they went on a run. As soon as a run starts, it's game over for this
UNC
team.
didn't have some of their best players either, and that happened, that just can't happen, right? We talk about how a lot of these things just can't happen.
The runs
and they
kill
happen.
this team.
Exactly.
It's that simple. Just delete them out of the game.
Right, and to go along with your point, it doesn't matter if Syracuse has some of the best first halves that it's had this season, or if it keeps up with a team for maybe longer than you would expect coming into a game. It doesn't matter if in the second half, midway through the second half, the opponent goes on a run and that completely deflates the team. And that has happened too many times this season where you've seen teams be going on these runs in the second half and Syracuse just can't answer back. It's happened time and time and time again, and that's what, like you said, deflates Syracuse and makes another L in the loss column.
Yeah, it's that simple. And the problems are there, and they've been there all season. There just hasn't been a fix.
Right.
And that comes down to the coaching. And again, there is a talent aspect of it. J.J. Starling, callers have mentioned this. You can't, J.J. Starling is a senior. You can't have so many of these games where you just check out.
Right.
He's been checked out way too many games. It was, great game against UNC, and then he's checked out today. That simply can't happen, especially from a senior.
You got to play a full 40 minutes.
For Kyan, you can understand it more. He's just a freshman. But even now, at this point in the season, freshmen aren't freshmen.
You're a second semester freshman.
Yeah.
For me, it's another obvious one. I mean, I'll go to the defensive side first. The paint defense, just not there. There was no paint defense. I said earlier in the show, Wake Forest was just going into the paint like a car pulling into an open driveway. No absolute, nothing that Syracuse fixed in the second half in terms of stopping Wake Forest in the paint. No adjustments being made. Guys were just waltzing into the lane, and Syracuse was just saying, oh, go right ahead. And that can't happen. 46 points in the paint. That's as many points as Syracuse had total in the first half. That's more than Syracuse had in the second half. And that's more than double the amount of points in the paint that Syracuse had in the entire game. Syracuse with only 20, Wake Forest with 46. That's the reason why Syracuse lost today. You cannot allow Wake Forest to have these easy baskets, and it was not just one player. Time and time again, guys are just getting to the paint, getting easy baskets. Miles Colvin, 32 points, and granted, he shot really well from beyond the arc. 7 for 8, only missed one three-pointer. But those baskets that he wasn't hitting from beyond the arc was getting to the lane, drawing fouls, and getting some layups as well. Juke Harris, who was coming off that big
Wake Forest had some really good displays from players. So give them credit. I mean, there were some guys that balled out for them today.
Yeah, one of the things that I was keeping an eye on the most coming into this game was how other people besides Juke Harris, because Juke Harris was coming off that big game against Boston College,
against BC.
where he had 38 points. And he's third in the ACC in scoring this year, over 21 points a game. My eyes were kept on kind of the other players that Wake Forest had.
Yeah, and I wouldn't
they really shine.
I wouldn't say Juke had a I wouldn't obviously he didn't have a good game, but I wouldn't say Syracuse defended Juke Harris to the T. He just had an off game. 4 of 15, 1 of 6 from threes. He was killer from 3 against Boston College. That was where he got a bulk of his points. I don't think Syracuse defended anyone particularly well today.
No, Miles Colvin, 32 points. Trayvon Spiller, 16. The other guys for the Demon Deacons really stepped up in place of Juke Harris today. And that was what really impressed me as well from the Wake Forest side. And what Syracuse couldn't do was just containing those guys. And it just didn't work, and Syracuse fell down the stretch.
And Syracuse didn't really have anyone that stepped up for them. Obviously Donnie
Freeman
he
and
had
Nate
20,
Kings.
but you should expect that from Donnie Freeman. He's your best player. You should expect 28 a game.
And it's
from
sad
him.
that's not been the case.
No,
where
it's
you don't
sad
expect
that is the surprise. Oh, look at Donnie Freeman. He had a good game. He was awful against North Carolina. Probably had his worst game in Orange. He so much so he needed 2 jerseys for it, and he got ejected. So. That shouldn't be a surprise to us that, oh, look at Donnie Freeman, look at the performance he had.
That should be what we expect.
But it's
that
unfortunately,
should be the
yes, the Orange Standard. It unfortunately has, crumbled into that, this is where it is with Donnie Freeman, and it's in your kind of fingers crossed hoping that he'll have a good game. And it's just so perplexing. I asked callers to call in what agitated them the most this season. Every game, what's the most like, oh my gosh, like I'm watching this team every game, and it's like they do the same thing every game. For me, it's two. It's 2 things. It's a lack of consistency, how one player can go from 22 points to 2, J.J. Starling, and
those late collapses.
We'll just collapse at any point. The runs that other, because basketball is a simple game of runs. It really is.
Yeah.
It is a game of runs. No matter what level it is, players get hot, teams get hot. It's how you respond. And Syracuse has no response.
No.
It is game over as soon as the team goes on a run. For Wake Forest, it just took a little bit longer. Honestly, it happened the same time North Carolina. Their run went on right around the under 8, and there was no response from the Orange late in that game. And Syracuse kind of had a response a little late, but it was too little too late, and they also squandered easy defensive rebounds that cost them this game. And then against Duke, I look at it, I'll go even further. It was right at the end of that first half. There was the run, there was the collapse.
I'm more than not impressed with the paint defense tonight. AJ's not impressed with the collapse today, and really all season long, these late collapses by Syracuse. But what do you think? Get your thoughts on the air and get involved. 315-443-2011. What did you not like from Syracuse in this 88-83 loss to Wake Forest? We're on the double overtime up until 10 o'clock, breaking down this defeat. And for me, again, goes hand in hand with paint defense, and that's the rebounding. Down the stretch, Syracuse could not get boards when it needed to the most. I mean, out-rebounded by 12. We talked about how that William Kyle rebound, they just could not get that, despite being seemingly open inside the paint. No one there to really contest Kyle. He doesn't get that rebound. That prevents the Orange from getting a possession, and that also costs Syracuse the game. The rebounding today also subpar, and another thing that I was not impressed with, I'm sure you aren't as well, AJ.
No, I mean 30-18 is you gotta go pound for pound on the boards, and they simply did not.
Especially with a team in Wake Forest that, get this, AJ, last in the ACC in rebounds per game at 33, and they put up 30 rebounds, and Syracuse can't even contest that. They go and put up 12 less. It's unbelievable. And for my final point of things that I've been frustrated with today and what stood out to me, talked about this earlier, the Nate Kings not playing down the stretch despite being second in the team in terms of points and scoring output today. 20 points, was not in the game in those final minutes, or final minute, I should say. And again, Syracuse just took out one of its better players when they needed him in the most. And it just leaves us scratching our heads as to what is really going on in those timeout huddles. Why is this a consistent issue? And at what point do these rotations kind of change, and Adrian Autry makes an adjustment and is like, okay,
well, it's too late.
It's more than too late.
He should have made an adjustment at the start of January, or 2 years ago.
It makes you wonder.
It's a little too late for that.
It makes you wonder, why is this not happening? Maybe not as much when is this going to be fixed, because it's obviously not anymore, but why is this not happening on a nightly basis? Those are my 3 things. SU's paint defense, rebounding down the stretch, and no Nate Kings in the final minute of the game.
Jared, I've been on X in between our points, still, of course, listening to your fascinating things, but I've heard Adrian Autry was a little fiery at the postgame
what did he
press
have
conference.
to say?
I don't know. We're going to find out soon.
Oh, I'm excited. We'll be bringing on our reporter when we come back from this quick break. Jish Sokolsky, also our play-by-play broadcaster down in North Carolina, going to tell us those things that Adrian Autry was fiery about in the postgame press conference, and we'll get him to share his frustrations with the team, because I'm sure he's very, very animated, and he can't wait to get his thoughts heard on the air. So don't go anywhere. The Double Overtime returns after this.
There is a one-stop listen for everything Syracuse athletics.
Syracuse men's lacrosse had arguably maybe Gary Gates' best weekend ever as head coach.
The Ostrom Avenue podcast provides unique opinions plus exciting interviews from industry experts.
The voice of Syracuse men's lacrosse and Syracuse women's basketball as well. Tim Leonard, Javon Edmonds of Syracuse.com.
Check out weekly episodes and listen at WAER.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for listening. We hope you're enjoying this WAER sports broadcast. Our sports staff goes where the teams go, home and away, and prepare for days before each game broadcast. Our talk show and podcast hosts analyze games, pour over stats, and keep up on sports trends. These and many behind-the-scenes opportunities are made possible by listener donations. So if you're a fan or an alum, donate to keep our sports legacy strong at WAER.org and click donate.
NewsHour from the BBC brings you interviews, news and analysis of the day's top global events.
What's going on?
What happens next?
Let's get more on our top story now.
With reporters across the world covering stories when they happen, wherever they happen.
This place is so remote that it's hard to imagine it as the front line of a major geopolitical row.
NewsHour from the BBC.
Weekdays after morning edition at 9 on WAER, your local NPR station.
Now back to Colvin, 5 to shoot. Launches over Starling and buries it. Miles Colvin up to 22, 5 for 5 from beyond the arc.
Welcome back into the double overtime. Syracuse falls to Wake Forest, 88-83. AJ Myers alongside Jared Valentin. We're about to hear from Jis Sokolsky, who was in Wake Forest on the call for this one. But before that, we're going to take a really quick pause.
Hi, this is Bob Costas, and if this was 1972, you might very well be listening to me on WAER, Syracuse.
Bob, thanks so much. Now we can welcome in Jis Sokolsky. Jish, how you doing? Great call. Great to hear you, as always, on the airways.
I'm tired, guys.
It was a fast-paced game.
I'm tired. There was just you look to your left, you look to your right. My neck kind of hurts.
Yeah.
There was no defense was optional. Almost like one of those games of pickup you might see at Barnes, the Barnes,
the rec
center at the Arch.
Yes.
Oh my God, man! I've never seen a game where defense was more optional. Than I did in this game.
It looked like a shoot-around out there today.
It's just like you think, okay, all right, Syracuse pulling ahead. It's 37-29. They're cooking a little bit, and then all of a sudden, Wake Forest, it's 2-3. It's back to a one-point game. You can never relax in this game, and I think that's a sign of a good game. You know, I'm not going to be
good one.
upset
Good
about
one
it.
for the neutrals, probably.
I'm not upset about it at all.
No.
I'm not. Like, both teams played really well, but you know who was really upset about it? Adrian Autry.
Yeah,
was.
I want to hear about this.
I would hope so as the head coach.
I want to hear about
guys, this might have been the first time don't get me wrong, he did take his own accountability, but this is the first time where he all but just threw his players under the bus.
Wow.
Really?
Please explain.
Almost completely. Adrian Autry goes up there, he says, you have to be tough to play in college basketball. At the end of the day, we can do all these rebounding drills, we can put you in these great positions, but at the end of the day, you're blowing these leads. We're putting you in good positions, and you're blowing the game. He didn't necessarily call anyone out. He wasn't saying it's all the players' fault. He still said, this is a reflection of me. But he said, you have to want it more, and because of that, we are only going to have inconsistent results.
Yeah, and I know
I think the word toughness might have been uttered maybe 70 times in his 5-minute press conference.
Yeah.
He was just so disappointed with how tough his team was, and I can't blame him, really. I mean, that's what it was. That's the big takeaway. They were not tough enough. They did not want it enough.
No, and at the end of the day, AJ and I have really gone into Adrian Autry a lot throughout the show, but at the end of the day, there's a certain amount of we don't know what's going on in those huddles, and to a certain extent, maybe he is saying all the right things, and the players are just not executing. And that could be what it comes down to as well. I mean, there's a certain level of him being correct where if they do all these rebounding drills, it doesn't, the players aren't doing it in-game. It's like, what more do you do at that point? Maybe different drills? I don't know.
He's not on the floor at the end of the day, right?
Right, that's what I was saying earlier.
We've been talking smack about Adrian Autry all year long as a Syracuse community. We've been throwing him under the bus. I think it's all but a done deal that he's probably gone after this
I
year.
agree.
With all the changes at the athletic director level, and honestly, like even if it wasn't like a you're fired kind of thing, it's like does he even still want to be here at this point, right?
What is the buy-in from player and coach?
I don't know if I don't know if anybody has really thought about that side of things. Does Adrian Autry even want to be here after all that he's gone through with the media and everyone else?
Right. That's not even me questioning like his commitment. Like this is his school. He loves this school so much. You can tell.
Right.
But just game in, game out, his team gives him a run and they can't get back in it. Like, yeah, you can do so much. Like, sure, people can nitpick and micromanage what his body language, how he dresses on the sideline.
Yeah.
People have been giving some unreal criticism towards Adrian Autry, and that's not to say like he's been a perfect coach. He's been great. If he was great, then Syracuse wouldn't be losing so many games, and he acknowledges that too. But at the end of the day, like you were saying just before the last segment ended, Jared, it's like as soon as there's a run, the team just falls apart, just completely. Especially when you're on the road at a place like the LJV and Coliseum. You know, there was a healthy crowd. It wasn't crazy or anything, but the crowd got to their feet at one point. You can't let the crowd get into it like that. And when they did, what the big thing that he really emphasized was you have to put effort in on both sides of the ball. Offensively, this might have been one of Syracuse's most complete games of the season, but defensively,
Best game of the season.
It was terrible.
Defensively, you couldn't buy a stop. You couldn't buy people to buy in, right? That's kind of where it felt like he was throwing his players under the bus there because he's saying, like, they have to want it defensively too. And it's such a weird turnaround because remember at the start of the season when that was the team?
Yeah,
the
Adrian and I were talking
steals,
about it.
Yeah.
The blocks, the
Level
transitions,
5.
Level 5
the
energy.
Level 5. Yeah, you can bring that against Binghamton.
Yeah.
Great. Congratulations. You did that against Delaware State. They just there's some mental block going on where the players decided to stop playing defense.
Yeah, they had a level 5 offense today.
Yeah, sure. It was great. I loved watching the offense.
Yeah, it was back and forth. It was an electric game. We're on the line with Jish Sokolsky, who was on the call for this one. Got a new perspective here on the double overtime. If you want to get your thoughts, got any questions for Jish, he'd love to answer them. 315-443-2011. What I'm really wondering is, what made this game the one for Autry to finally be like, hey, like, there's a lack of buy-in on my team.
Third to last of the regular season.
Hey, this team is not that good defensively. We don't defend that well. Like, what made the Wake Forest game be the one where he's like, hey, you know what, today I'm going to, really get my frustration out.
I'm going to be honest about it. I mean, really, if you ask me, it's the rebounding discrepancy.
Yeah.
Wake Forest had 30 rebounds. Syracuse only at 18. Let me put some context for you. Wake Forest had the fewest rebounds in the conference coming into the game. They're not a good rebounding team. Their tallest player is 6'10". This was a team before the Boston College game. I have to double-check the stats here, but I'm pretty sure they rank outside the top 300 teams in rebounds. And not only did they beat you on the glass, they pulverized you. 18 rebounds total throughout the game. 18. You're telling me that this is a college basketball team? No,
that's
what a team. It's infuriating. And how many of those were offensive? Actually, let me go look right now. Just so many. The game ended on an offensive rebound. Sadiq White, after the game, said the other team wanted it more than we did.
10 for Wake Forest, 5 for Syracuse in terms of those offensive rebounds. And
that was clutch.
Yeah, and what's so baffling is what you just said, Jish, that Wake Forest is the worst team in the conference when it comes to rebounding, and Syracuse got out-rebounded by double digits. And it's clear that no matter what and how bad and what the accountability that Adrian Autry has and all the slander that he gets, he cares about this team, like you said, AJ. He cares about this team, and you can tell that he doesn't like what's happening. I mean, there was a point in the TV broadcast today where I believe it was not getting that final rebound that William Kyle missed out on, and the camera pans to Adrian Autry. And it was just a shot of Adrian Autry.
He looks defeated.
He just looks so defeated.
Yeah.
Mentally out of it. He let out a big sigh, and you could tell that, like, everything that he's been preaching has not come to fruition in these
No,
games.
it hasn't translated, and I think it's clear. There is the buy-in between coach and player is gone. I don't think it's been gone all year. I don't know if it was the Duke game or maybe it was just this UNC game
Boston College maybe a little bit earlier
it goes
in the
really
season.
far back.
Yeah.
And I still think the team was together then. But I just think in these last 3 or 4 games, there's now a real divide where players are, a lot of players are 1 foot out of the door.
maybe that's the case. I can't say for certain, and it just seems
No one
like,
can, no.
yeah. And like when you I talked to Nate Kings after the game too. He said, "Man, I'm gonna watch film. Like I'm really gonna delve in." Like first of all, have you not been doing that all season? Second of all,
that kind of goes without saying.
Yeah, right. I assumed as such. Like, I hope you woke up this morning and brushed your teeth. Like, I hope you're watching film. But like, if that's like the big thing you're gonna do after the game, like I don't know what to say.
No.
I really don't.
And it's too late now for big changes. It's too late.
They just have to be tougher. They just have to be tougher, and there's no other way to put it. The players on the floor have to listen to their coach. I don't know why they don't. It almost feels like you're trying to teach
The
a
buy-in.
cat to bark.
The buy-in. The buy-in is gone.
I don't even know if it's like buy-in. I just don't know if they can keep it to memory. It's like trying to teach Kwame Brown a post move. Like, if you're Stephen A. You know, it's trying to teach a cat to bark.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's in one ear, out the other. Either that or just the game gets too fast or too intense, which is
unacceptable.
ludicrous.
You're D1. That can't happen. You're
Right.
ACC.
You got to expect that.
And guys, with all that was on the line today, Syracuse, I don't even know if they knew this, but they could clinch a spot in the ACC tournament with a win today. Honestly, it's looking, and I know there's I guess an infamous last word of Adam Gotkin at the start of this year saying, I don't know if they'll make the ACC tournament. I don't know if they will. I really don't. There's 2 games left. Pitt just won today, and they won convincingly over Cal.
Yeah.
And
Pitt's
they
got
play
Florida
Louisville next.
If Pitt wins out and Syracuse loses out, Pitt makes it over Syracuse.
And SU does not make it. That's great insight there, Jish.
It's very possible.
Thank you for that.
And that would be next week today, a game in the Dome,
Wow.
Pitt versus Syracuse.
All the house money,
the
winner
marbles.
goes to Charlotte. Look at
So,
that.
like, yeah, I mean, like, at this point,
Pack the
I'm
dome.
Like,
I gotta go to that game.
Like, not to drive anyone away from listening to this, but I'm already checked out of this game. Like, that's the one you got to circle now. Syracuse versus Pitt. And you know what? Maybe back in the day that would be a big matchup nationally,
No,
but really
gosh.
the only people who care. And Josh, the other guy who was on the call with today, he brought up a great point to me. It might have been Josh or Gino. Gino's also here. Gino Antamarino, shout out. It's like at this point, it doesn't even matter if they make it or not.
No, there's no incentive, really.
What's the point? Your season's just going to end anyway.
I don't think
honestly,
there's any financial benefit. I don't think. There may be, but it can't be that big.
It can't be for being a first-round
No.
exit in the ACC tournament. I imagine maybe you get like a gift card to Tully's. I honestly think
Tender's gift card.
if I'm like a student or a fan that's really invested in this team, I'd rather they miss the tournament.
I was about to ask, and
I'd
this
rather
to all
they
of
miss
us
the
here,
tournament.
and
just get spring break started early, right? Go to Cabo, go to Cancun on 3.
Cancun
right?
on 3.
We're not. It's not like Syracuse is going to make this miraculous run. Not because they're not talented enough. It's just because they don't want it enough. Sadiq White said as such verbatim after the game, they wanted it more than we did.
And that's
That's
unacceptable.
just unacceptable.
It is.
Wow, look at that.
Look at
Great
that.
minds.
Wow.
Right.
It's clear the buy-in, or not the buy-in, but just the want and the drive is gone. If you're just as frustrated as me, Jared, and Jish are, give us a call, 315-443-2011. We'd love to hear your thoughts here on the Double Overtime. We're on the air until 10, so you got plenty of time to do it. And plenty of time to get on the air and talk. We'll let you go along as well. So be sure to call in. And also, the ACC tournament factor, would you rather just watch one less game of Syracuse basketball at this point, or listen one less game at this point? Because, I mean, I think the message is clear from us. It's like, if you make it, sure, but
cool.
You're no NC State.
Right,
NC State, there was
Get a gold
buy-in,
star.
there was want.
Right. You
This
got
team
DJ
doesn't have
Burns
that
on the team.
formula.
I think if Syracuse had like a really fat player, then they would then I'd want to see Syracuse win a little more. I think as much as I've kind of bashed the players, I do think there was one moment coaching wise, and I don't know why he did this, but this was really where the game was lost. Honestly, it was in the second half. He switched from a man to a zone.
Yep,
And
the caller brought that up.
You do that when Colvin is on the floor. Mr. Miles Colvin, who hit a career-high 7 threes, had 32 points, his most since December. He actually had a 33-point game, but that was against Queens College. Syracuse, breaking news, now in the same tier as Queens College because they allowed Miles Colvin, who also had an offer last time against Boston College.
Who were
come out
awful,
and shoot.
yeah.
Maybe that's a
Syracuse
motivating
lost it.
factor. Maybe that's a motivating factor for the Purdue transfer. I don't know. But when you go to a 2-3 zone against Miles Colvin, who has been shooting unconscious, you deserve to lose the game. And then they overcompensated the next zone set where they were just completely on the perimeter. Isaac Carr had a complete just walk to the basket. Whoopsie-doo. They're not equipped to run the zone. This is not a team built to run the zone. They're not long enough to do so. It's a team full of, kind of shorter, not shorter per se, but not as like long guards. Like the way the zone would work under Boeheim is you recruit specifically for it. You get those longer wings, those Buddy Boeheims of the world, your Marek Dolezajs of the world, who can like just put their arms out and clog passing lanes. Nate Kings isn't doing that. I love Nate Kings as an on-ball defender. He's not doing that. J.J. Starling is not doing that. Kyan Anthony, you might not put him on the floor if you run a 2-3 zone. This team has to run man, and it's so weird to say that about Syracuse, but this team just cannot run zone. And when the game is that close and you're running a zone, you deserve everything that happens to you. And
There's
that's
just no
when,
logic
went
to
on that
switch
run.
it.
I want to go back to that press conference. You mentioned how animated and fiery Autry was about the rebounding in particular. I said it earlier in the show. This was the worst defensive performance I've seen in terms of interior defense all season long. Did Autry have anything to say about kind of what went wrong inside the paint, the lack of adjustments from the first half to the second half? Did he touch on the paint defense at all?
No pun intended. I think he was seeing red. He just did not. He didn't really touch on anything specific.
You know what? Fair enough.
Even when we tried to ask him like a specific question about J.J. Starling's 2-point performance, he said that's not the story. That's not the story here. The story is we were not tough enough on defense. He was like, yeah, it's disappointing. He got his shots. They just didn't go in. And there wasn't necessarily like bad shots for JJ standards, at least, that he was taking. Like if there was anybody else taking those contested layups, you'd put your hands on your head. But JJ makes those. He just wasn't today. It is what it is. You take JJ for what? There's 2 games, 3 games maybe left of his collegiate career. You take what you can get from JJ. I think you can stop getting so hung up on the stats when it comes to some of these players playing in their final games. Because at the end of the day, what's it all for, right? Not to be super nihilistic. But in terms of interior defense, no, it wasn't quite mentioned. It is kind of perplexing that there were no blocks for Syracuse today.
William Kyle had a dud. He did not play well.
I struggle to say. I think his positioning was not the best today. He was very late to drive it. Like, this is usually his bread and butter. He's got good positioning. He can time up those layups well. I think he timed them well today. He just was way out of position. And part of that is because, you have a very versatile and crafty forward in Trevon Spillers off the ball, who was giving him a lot of nightmares. He had to always keep an eye on him. And also part of it was William Kyle. I mean, he only played 27 minutes, and I know that's kind of a lot, but he typically, to me, should be like a 30-plus minute player because he is the player that gives the most energy and toughness and grit on a night-in, night-out basis.
We're going to go back to the phone lines. We've got Otto from North Syracuse. You want to talk about defensive adjustments? What do you got there?
I think pressing, they should have done that sooner. They waited out until like 2 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
And I think also that they should press throughout the whole game even though they're ahead. You never see them do that.
I mean, I think that's a lot to ask. Go ahead, Jish.
But that's not necessarily the worst point because at the end of the game when they started pressing, that's when they started actually making them a little uncomfortable. Like not of the whole game because obviously this team gets tired. That's why they go to the zone. But when you find the momentum slipping, that's when you go to the press. That's when you force the issue. Say, okay, you got this momentum, prove it. I like that point, Otto. I agree. Not the whole game, but I agree they should have ran it more.
Yeah, they waited until 2 minutes left in the game, and then they started.
Yeah,
and they were behind.
Right, exactly. You should do it.
I think they should rattle them even in the first half once in a while. Put the press on, just to shake them up a little bit.
Yeah, I think when something's not working and you let up 46 points in the paint, I mean, no matter what, something has to change. And maybe they do go to that a little bit earlier, Otto, and maybe something's changed, but I don't hate the point either. Something had to change earlier on in the game to prevent that many interior points being scored, and nothing changed.
Otto, thanks so much for the call. We really appreciate it. I think he makes an interesting point, but I kind of want to jump back to the William Kyle aspect. How does he not get involved earlier? I feel like he should be getting more involved with the lobs and whatnot.
Didn't take a single
because
shot.
He's so athletic,
earlier.
and it's just times where it's like he's not even there on the floor, which is so perplexing to me.
And right, against a team that's so small, like Wake Forest, their tallest player is 6'10", but he
One
wasn't-
rebound from Kyle.
He's not super athletic. Yeah, that's really concerning.
That's
I think
glaring
William
as well.
Kyle, just the entire time, like, this was maybe his worst game. Not maybe. This was his worst game.
Oh, yeah.
In a Syracuse
Certainly. No
uniform.
blocks, no steals.
It's just like his positioning was off all night. He wasn't necessarily in a good position to make any plays, to do his blocks, to sky up there. He can only rely on his athleticism so much. At the end of the day, you have to be in the right place at the right time when you are a 6'9" center.
David from East Syracuse is back on the phone here. David, you want to talk about the future of this program? What's your crystal ball saying?
I do. I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about, what we need to do to fix this, obviously. With the NIL. My question to you guys, I want your opinion.
Yeah, let's hear it.
It seems to me that, we need the money and the support from the alumni and everything. Well, if they're not winning, who's going to support the team to put the money? Isn't it like a vicious circle? Don't you need the money? So, my question is, with the program the way it is right now, who's going to invest in it to get to where we need to get? Or am I missing something?
It's a valid question.
I believe in the Orange alumni. I think that they love this team so much, and the reason why everybody knows that Adrian Autry's on the hot seat is because alumni have spoken up. Alumni care about this team. The fact that Mello is so much back into this program, I think that it's only a matter of time before he starts.
I guess what I'm asking is not so more alumni, just a regular Joe Blow like me, or other people that want to donate and help the program get better. That's going to be a hard sell.
Absolutely. And that's
why the big thing is who they hire as the next AD. How do you sell this program to the people who are turning on the game and watching Syracuse blow every game? I think this team needs great PR. I think that this is a very important next AD hire. I think that's going to be the person who can say, all right, well.
I also want to throw something out there real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
All these other shows have been talking about the next hire, who do you like? G-Mac and Hop have been named a lot. I'm going to throw a name out there. It's a shot in the dark, but you got to make a phone call to him. Jay Wright.
Ah, yes, I love that, David, and I got some bias there because I'm from the Philadelphia
area.
area.
And I'll tell you, look, I don't know what his deal is at CBS. If you want to come back, you got to make that phone call. You have to.
You got to imagine
you just have
the bug
to.
Is still there, right?
Can you imagine if we got Jay Wright?
That would be awesome.
What this community would be. I mean, that's my guy. That's who I think they should go after. Shoot for the stars, open the checkbook, get somebody in here that's a proven winner. Nothing against GMAC or Hop. I think they'd be good hires too, but I'm at the point where let's go for it all.
But David,
get somebody like that.
My one thing with Jay Wright is, I don't know, is he too removed where he maybe doesn't know how to tackle an NIL era? That's the only thing.
Well, a lot of these guys, Tony Bennett let step down because he didn't want to deal with NIL.
Yeah.
Even Boeheim did. So that's a question that you'd have to ask him.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking he's still fairly young. I think he would take a job. I do at this point.
It'll be interesting.
Take your
if it was the right job.
Great point, Dave. Appreciate the call, as always.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks, Dave.
Go ahead, Jish. That's an interesting one.
I really like that because it's also like a big middle finger to Villanova, too. Right?
Oh, yeah.
A former Big East rival. That's like Saquon joining the Eagles,
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. And I think that could also kind of, like Dave was saying, that could breathe some life into a Syracuse fan base that I think is getting more and more checked out with every given year.
Absolutely. Now, the only problem there's many problems I see with Jay Wright. One, and he's so loyal to Villanova, I don't know if he would actually do that. And also, he seems pretty content retired as well. He's one. I think you need a lot of convincing to get back into the game, but it's an interesting name. And again, I like it's a name that is a proven winner, unlike Adrian Autry, who as a head coach was not a proven winner.
Right. It's true. Absolutely.
It's true.
Yeah, and I think the biggest question, like what David was saying, is you have to ask him, are you buying into this NIL era, and are you comfortable with that? Because we've seen coaches, David read my mind earlier when he mentioned Tony Bennett. We've seen coaches like Tony Bennett actively leave their position after having team success because of this new NIL era, NIL landscape. So if that's something that he's not comfortable with, then you can already, you can't go through with that, even if
and
you
to
think
tie
it's
it
a
all
great hire on paper.
To tie it all together, Jared, I think it goes hand in hand with this toughness, right? Where's the hunger to just give it everything you got if you're getting paid anyway, right? Well, no, not even the buying. It's just like if you're already bought out, why would you buy in, right? If you already are getting this much money, you have a check that it doesn't matter. It's not like you are playing for your life to go to the NBA because that'll be life-changing money. You can already, To put it bluntly, you can already get your mom out of the hood with a college check. You can at this point. So, like, you're not bringing – I feel like that's going to – I'm not going to say it's going to make all college athletes, like, corrupt and bad players, but it's going to adjust the attitude of a college basketball player because they know how much they are worth. It is on paper. It is in a numerical value.
Yep.
That determines how much – right. So, I mean, like, yeah, even if you pay more for players, you can get these better players in. It's like – you're getting players that are worth that much and have the attitude that they're worth that much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And just before we let you go here in a bit here, what do you want this outlook to be the rest of the way for Syracuse? They got 2 more regular season games left, maybe some tournament basketball with the ACC tournament. What are you foreseeing, and what do you want to see?
I want them to tank for Cam Boozer at this point.
We wish.
What do I want to see from the Syracuse team? I want to see the same thing I saw at the beginning of the season, the thing I know they're capable of. The constant pestering defense.
The level 5.
The level 5, the off-ball movement, the being engaged in the game while you're not with the ball in your hand. The Wake Forest players, after the game, in their press conference, they said, we know Syracuse is an ISO team. They're being identified as a selfish team by other teams in their conference. People know they're not going to swing the rock. Why even bother? Teams know that other players are checked out on the team. Why even bother? This Wake Forest team was in much more dire straits than Syracuse was, and they still brought the energy. They were still in it. The only reason Syracuse really got off to a hot start is because Wake Forest was playing their ball screens. They were playing into Syracuse's ball screens a little bit too much. They were trying to run through screens instead of under them. That was the big adjustment that they made to really stop Syracuse's three-point barrage. Once the screens and handoffs stopped working, players just decided, I can do it myself. I'm getting paid this much to do it myself. I'm going to do it myself. I want to see them play as a team just in these last 2 games. Fight like it's your last 2 games together because, quite frankly, it just might be.
I think something I want to see is more adjustment from Autry at times. When the big run happens, can you make a logical adjustment to put the gas cap on it so it doesn't go into a game-ending run? Because there's been so many games this year, as I've harped on throughout the show, one run and it's over.
Yeah, I mean, Evan Mia calls it a kill shot when a team goes on a 10-0 run, and that cannot be more appropriately named when talking about this Syracuse team. It is a kill shot every time. Teams will win against Syracuse if they can go on anything more than an 8-0 run.
Yeah, and AJ and AJ in particular, I'm right there with you in terms of I want to see this Adrian Autry make an adjustment to avoid late collapses, but not even just on the offensive end. In terms of the defense today, we saw, I know I talked about the paint defense, we saw no adjustment from that from the first half to the second half. Even make an adjustment on defense when something is not working. Have that courage to respond and make some sort of change, because when you keep doing the same thing all game long, it doesn't work, and that applies to both offense and defense.
Certainly does. Here on the double overtime, we're recapping Syracuse and Wake Forest, another conference loss for the Orange. We got Jish Chikolsky on the line. He was at the game. If you got any fun questions for Jish, he was in the post-game press conference. He talked to Sadiq White and Nate Kings as well. So if you want to hear what they had to say or something particular or something he asked him, shoot him a call, 315-443-2011. Was there anything else from the players that you got that was insightful or something different? Or were they pretty subdued, which they've been, I feel like, the last few games post-game-wise?
They kind of felt like dogs with their tails between their legs. You know,
Yeah.
It felt like Adrian Autry told us the same thing he told them, probably with a lot more anger in his voice when he was behind closed doors and the cameras weren't on him. But they were echoing the same things. Man, we just got to be tougher. That was basically the tone that they were given. We just got to be tougher. I'm going to look back on this one and see what I can do differently.
Yeah.
You know, it's lip service at this point, but it's true. I mean, that's what makes me think that it's not Adrian Autry not caring. It's not Adrian Autry, being checked out or like not giving enough energy. I think he is he's trying to do his best, and he's not gentle parenting these young adults either. He is telling them exactly how it has to be. It's just not happening. He doesn't have an answer for it, and it's unfortunately probably going to cost him his job. But at the end of the day, it's just like, how do you let that sink in? How do you as a player actually internalize that? How can you really reflect it in your play? It just hasn't happened, and that's the reason why the results have been so inconsistent.
Just were you surprised at how many threes the team took early on? Because that kind of surprised me. It seemed like the game plan was to shoot threes from the get-go.
Yeah, especially with how many they missed against North Carolina.
Yeah.
You'd think they'd be a little gun-shy, or maybe Autry's like, all right, we're going to go to the rim, especially against a smaller team. But, I mean, they were just open. They just got open.
And thank goodness they made them, because if they didn't,
Right,
Wake Forest could have ran away with it early.
Oh, my God. I mean, Donnie Freeman was stroking it really nicely earlier. I mean, Nate King's, even though he will say his defense was not good today, his offense was one of the best of the season. 20-point game, 5 threes. I mean, they couldn't stop him. Even Nate George, I mean, he had a great game offensively as well. He was doing what a point guard should do. Like, the offense cannot be – it was not the issue at all. I was really impressed with the three-point shot selection, the fact that they got so open. I think that's really where William Kyle's impact came, because he was setting some really nice screens. There was one time in the second half where Miles Colvin just completely face-planted off of a screen from William Kyle. I mean, that resulted in a missed three.
Mm-hmm.
Shocker in the second half. They couldn't hit threes. But it was the screens and the handoffs. That's where Starling was making his impact, too, like those handoffs behind the back. The team wasn't quick enough. The Wake Forest team just wasn't quick enough and wasn't strong enough in the first half. But Syracuse defensively just kept them in it. That was if they had one, as Autry calls a kill, 3 stops in a row, they would have won the game. I don't think they had a single kill all game where they stopped them for 3 straight possessions.
Yeah, and that's what I've been saying all game, Jish, is that the offense was so well today that it's such a shame that the defense was as bad as it was. Because when you shoot the lights out like you do, if you said this earlier on the broadcast. You said if you had told me that Syracuse shot over 50% from the field, 50% from 3, which Syracuse has not done all year long, and over 80% from the line, where this is a team that struggles from the charity stripe, you would assume that this team won by double digits, if not 20 plus. And in reality, this was a 5-point loss to one of the bottom half teams in the ACC.
One of the bottom teams in Power 4, period.
Yeah, there you go.
Period. And it was Josh who said that, and I said I still believe they probably would have lost that game. Because, like, Syracuse in the second half, I don't know, if they played only 20 minutes, Syracuse would be undefeated to be the number 1 team. Well, they wouldn't, actually, but you know what I mean.
Yes, we can imagine that.
It's a team that can come out of the gate strong. Maybe the message from Autry is still fresh in their heads, but as the game goes on, they just revert back to, it's my ball, my ball, my ball.
Yep.
If I don't have the ball, what do I do?
And that goes to coaching.
Yeah. Do they all need to wear like IFBs, like earpieces, to hear coach? Like I don't know what the Don't know what the. Yeah, right. Exactly. That would be fun. That could be a good gimmick. That could get people to buy into the program. Oh wow, I want to give money to
that. Would sell out, Pitt.
Get the football helmets where you have the thing that you can hear them. Hear the coaches with.
Yeah, and again, just I credit to you for teeing up this Pitt game and the stakes that are at hand. That Syracuse, there is a legit chance that they lose out these next 2, Louisville and Pitt, that they do not make the ACC tournament.
Let me pose a question to you guys now. If they do beat Louisville, are you bought back in? Do you think they could do it?
Okay, that's interesting. I was just thinking about that. I don't know. We're going to talk about more of that on the other side, but that is a very interesting point you make. Can Autry squeeze one more upset out? Because he has done that. He did that Tennessee. He did that to North Carolina. Was that last year or 2 years ago? Was that in his first year he upset North Carolina?
That was his first year, yeah.
So, there was no upset last year, was
He's
there?
almost done it a few times this year.
Tennessee?
Yeah, Tennessee. He did it.
Well, aside from Tennessee, like Houston, those kind of – I was saying he's almost done it a few times.
He can coach an upset. Can he coach what we all presume would be his final one? Against Louisville, it would definitely be
a magnum opus. Maybe it'll get him a job somewhere else.
Yeah, who knows?
Might be nice.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? Just thanks so much for hopping on.
Guys.
As always, a great call.
I love hearing you, Jish.
Great work to everything you've done here at the station as well, Jish. It was great to have you on.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Have a fun rest of your show. Only half an hour left.
Yep.
Hey, you guys better call in.
Yes. Thank you, Jish. Appreciate it.
Yep.
We're going to step aside for just a moment, but when we come back, we are going to talk about that Louisville game and what the Orange could potentially do right to cause one more upset to maybe get you guys back involved if they can knock off the Cardinals. We're going to talk about that on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
The White House asked Congress to pull back federal funding for public media that had already been approved, and Congress has gone along. We want you to know that NPR and this station remain committed to informing the public, increasing your understanding of the world, and hopefully enriching your life in other ways. But without federal funding, we're relying on your support now more than ever. Please make your gift to this station today. Here's how, and thank you.
Visit WAER.org to get started today.
Are you interested in hearing music from Tuareg nomads, tuba throat singers, Congolese dance bands, and Jamaican dub? Well, you can here on WAER on Top of the World, Sundays from 8 to 11 p.m. with Mark Bostic and Connie Whaler.
Weekday mornings are a juggle, sometimes even a struggle. Morning Edition from NPR News eases you into your day and keeps you company through the chaos of a busy morning. Hear interviews that give you context on the day's biggest stories, along with reporting and updates on the latest breaking news. Stay on top of the world with Morning Edition every weekday.
Weekdays from 5 to 9 on 88.3 WAER.
Now Sadiq White tries his range, and he's got it too. His first three of the game, everybody's eating.
Syracuse falls apart to Wake Forest on the road, 88-83 the final. Jared Valentin, AJ Myers closing up shop here on the double overtime, but we're not done just yet. We got a little over 20 minutes to break down this 5-point defeat. We talked about what went wrong for Syracuse, the laundry list of things that went wrong. We brought on our reporter and play-by-play broadcaster, Jish Sokolsky, to give us his thoughts on what Adrian Autry had to say post-game. And now it's time to look ahead to what's coming up for this Syracuse team. So get involved, get your thoughts heard on the air. Let us know what you have to say about the rest of this season as it's winding down. Call in at 315-443-2011. That's 315-443-2011. You can also interact with us on X and YouTube at WAER Sports Talk as well. AJ, there's 2 regular seasons games left for Syracuse. They take on Louisville on the road, and then a rematch with Pitt, who they beat earlier in the season. But going to that Louisville game, it's not an easy one. This is a Cardinals team that leads the ACC in scoring, over 86 points per game.
Yeah, and it's also just interesting. Like Wake Forest, similar situation to Syracuse, not a ton to play for. They're not going to make the tournament or anything. Louisville, they got everything to play for. They cannot afford to lose this game. If they lose this game, I'm not saying they'd miss the tournament, but it'd be a big dent. It would put them in a bad situation first round of the tournament. So they have every right to, go guns a-blazing. They need to win this game. There's no exception.
Syracuse currently 13th in the conference standings right now, tied with Wake Forest.
They cannot squander this game to a poor and struggling Syracuse squad. This would be a quad 3 loss for Louisville if they were to lose on Tuesday. So that can't happen. They can't add. That would be their first quad 3 loss of the season.
Yep.
That can't happen. So there is a lot to play for the Cardinals. So you're going to get their best game. So for Syracuse, you got to raise up. Go to that level 5. Be right there on their level, because this is, and it's obviously not a tournament game for them, but it's a game they can't afford to lose. And for Syracuse, I mean, unfortunately, if you win it or you lose it, ain't going to do much, because you're not going to make the tournament regardless.
Yeah.
But for pride, for dignity, for those loyal Orange fans that have called in, give it your all. You
Give it
got
your
nothing to
all, impress
lose,
the
really.
fan base,
And
give them what
Louisville
they
has
deserve.
everything to lose because they lose this game.
Exactly.
It's a big dent in their resume because their quad 1 record is 6-8. They have a lot of quad 1 losses, so that ain't good. They don't have any quad 2, 3, or 4 defeats. So Louisville can't afford to lose this game. They have to take care of business.
The Cardinals certainly cannot. Wake Forest and Syracuse tie
Play
right now.
spoiler. You always hear that. Oh, look at this team play spoiler.
They
It
say there's
affects
so
them.
many upsets that happened in March.
Here we go. Would this be the
That's
first
like-
game in
this is
March?
the
It would
time
be.
from
This would be the
Syracuse
first
to get
game
some.
in March.
Yeah, start
Do
March
it now.
off on the right foot. How about we do that, Syracuse? Come on. SU and Wake Forest tied in the conference standings right now. Syracuse 2 games ahead of Notre Dame and Pittsburgh in the ACC standings as well. Pittsburgh, the 16th team in the ACC standings. They're the first ones out of the tournament right now, but tied with Notre Dame, who's in that last spot at 15th. And Syracuse plays Pittsburgh coming up after Louisville. So if Syracuse loses to Louisville and then loses to Pittsburgh at home, a team it beat earlier in the year, there's a real possibility, AJ, that the Orange do not make the ACC tournament. So we'll start with Louisville. What do the Orange have to do against the Cardinals to sort of clean things up here and clinch that spot in the ACC tournament and, improve before tournament play?
Go punch for punch. It's that simple. You cannot afford to give up a big run. And now, Donnie Freeman just had 28 points.
Yep.
Please,
And it
Donnie
wasn't
Freeman,
enough.
please have at least 20 points on Tuesday. Do not go from 28 to 5. That cannot happen. That's happened way too many times this
Starling just did
season.
that.
Exactly. Do not do what your other captain just did. You have to be consistent. Otherwise, then it's a guessing game. Then it's a throwing the dart of who's going to play better. And I didn't mean dart there in any football terms. I just meant like
Strictly
you're actually playing
basketball,
darts.
strictly hardwood.
So you have to bring a consistent performance if you're Donnie Freeman.
Right, and for me, I'll go to the team offense as a whole. Syracuse did something it really hasn't done all season today, and that was shoot the 3 ball really well, a season high 50% from beyond the arc. Now, granted, this is a Wake Forest team that's not nearly as good as Louisville, but at least if you're Syracuse, make the open 3. Do everything you can to generate open looks, and when you get those open looks, make them count because they're going to come few and far between. Syracuse had 10 3-pointers in that first half. Donnie Freeman shot the ball well, 4 of 7 from beyond the arc. Nate King's 5 of 9 from deep. That's going to be hard to maintain against Louisville.
There
who's
is
a much
no
better team.
way they shoot this well against Louisville.
Right.
No way.
No way, right?
No
you expect this team
way.
to drop off, and it did in the second half against Wake Forest today.
Yeah, you already saw it.
But at the very least,
the drop-off has begun shooting.
At the very least, make those open
Go
shots.
punch for punch.
And go punch for punch, like you're saying. Make those open shots, but also generate more open shots so that you have a better chance of maintaining this shooting performance, or at least getting close to what was Syracuse's offense today against Louisville, or against Wake Forest.
I just have no confidence.
Me neither.
I have zero confidence in this team.
Me neither.
That they are going to be able to shoot 50% from 3 again.
It's a big ask.
Because one, I think Louisville's going to play better defense.
Right.
Wake Forest was dismal defensively today, and so too was Syracuse. I don't think they're going to have as many wide open looks. And I just have no confidence that they'll be as consistent to knock down those looks.
Yeah, it's a big ask. There's no doubt about it. But at the very least, try and generate as many as you can.
How? How?
That's the question, right? That's the question.
Coach Valentin, how are they generating these looks?
Do what they did today against Wake Forest. Have the defense.
Well, you're not going to get you're not going to get those open looks though. What are they going to do when they don't get those open looks?
You have to try.
How do you try to get open looks? Are you asking them to you're hoping them to have the other team to have defensive lapses? Is that what you're saying? Are you saying Adrian Autry's game plan should be Louisville should just hopefully they have a few defensive lapses.
But you have to do everything you can to at least try to get those open looks. And we're at a point now where, like you said earlier, there's nothing that Syracuse is going to do that's really going to get them even close to competing with Louisville. But no matter what you do, it's just every game. It ends the same way. Syracuse falls by 5 to Wake Forest. AJ wants Syracuse to go punch for punch with Louisville as we head towards these later stretches in the regular season and as we approach tournament time. I'm just asking for Syracuse to hit more open shots. What do you think?
Wait, they hit a pretty good amount of shots. You want them to hit more open shots?
No, hit open shots like they did today.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Maintain this as best as you possibly can.
I see.
It's human nature that you're not going to shoot as well as you did today because this was the best
No,
performance
there is.
Syracuse had.
I feel they're going to go 30% from 3. on
but
Tuesday.
at least generate decent looks. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
I know it's a big.
I just
ask for
don't know
this
how.
team.
I don't know how that comes together.
315-443-2011 is how you let us know what Syracuse needs to do to clean up for tournament time, if they can even make the tournament at this point, which it's still possible they miss.
It's important to mention the ACC tournament.
Big clarification there. Yes, you're right. Again, 315-443-2011. That's how you get at us here on the Double Overtime. Jared Valentin, AJ Myers with you for another 15 minutes or so, talking about this defeat and Syracuse's next two games. The Orange travel to Louisville and then take on Pittsburgh. Back at home, a team Syracuse beat back in early January on the road. In fact, the last road win that Syracuse got this season back on January 10th, that victory over Pittsburgh in a game where Syracuse also shot the ball particularly well. What else can Syracuse do, AJ, in your mind to really... I know your confidence is at an all-time low. My confidence is pretty low as well. What else can they do in your mind to maybe at least give them a chance?
I think the biggest thing they can do to give them a chance is that William Kyle needs to be more involved because he can be such an X factor, especially in generating upsets. Because I think there are teams, especially in the ACC I've seen this year, they're put off by William Kyle. They're like, holy cow, this guy is freakishly athletic, can jump out of the gym, can just cause havoc. He can cause chaos. Draw up those moments to allow William Kyle to create that chaos. Because when he does, that's when things start going a little bit awry for teams. Even Duke. There was a stretch there where Duke was like, oh, whoa, how do we deal with William Kyle? And then they figured it out because they're great.
To feel that way.
Yeah,
That's a big.
Yeah, they've gotten good teams to feel that way. So get William Kyle more into the game from the get-go. Make sure he is aggressive and ready to play. Coach Autry, just whatever that is, however that is, make sure that happens because his chaos can lead to wins. There was a play against UNC where he had a steal and then went the other way for a one-handed dunk. He's a big guy doing that, going coast to coast. There's not many players in college basketball that can do that. Of his stature, that can go coast to coast like that, that's hard to do. He can create chaos. I'm not saying he can single-handedly win Syracuse a game, but he can certainly cause chaos.
But if he's doing well, it makes the load easier for guys like Donnie Freeman and J.J. Starling,
and he just
who have
can't
proven to be inconsistent in games.
Everyone is proven to be inconsistent.
Right. But if you have one guy like William Kyle that you're talking about who can put up some of those numbers that you're hoping to see him.
He just can't have a stinker like he did today with no steals, no blocks.
Right.
His ability to jump and again, to just cause chaos has to create the steals and blocks.
If he gets involved, that makes it a little bit easier for other guys where they're not just loading the whole offensive burden, and they can in turn get going or at least take the easy shots and not worry about forcing things because that's when it leads to disaster.
Like, look, even against SMU, I mean, he only took 3 shots. You know, he only had 4 points, but 3 steals. Like, that was big. Those 3 steals really helped get Syracuse over the line in a tight SMU game. That's what we need to see on Tuesday if there wants to be any chance of an upset. And even in a game against NC State, I know Syracuse didn't play well in that one. They lost 3 assists, and 3 blocks. Get them those blocks, get them those steals, because then that can cause kind of confusion and frustration from the opponent.
Yeah, and something else that the Orange can do, and this is also another big ask, and it's something like Syracuse has struggled with a lot last year, they've struggled with a lot this year, and even tonight a little bit, or a lot I should say, containing the opposing guards on the Louisville's team. The perimeter defense, if that can be improved a lot, Syracuse can have a fighting chance. Louisville has 2 guards, Mikael Brown Jr. and Ryan Conwell, that are both top 10 in the conference in terms of points per game. They both average 38 points per game when you put them together. That's a tall task. And as we saw today, Syracuse, Juke Harris, who is the leading scorer for Wake Forest, had a bit of a lesser game, 13 points, just 1 of 6 from beyond the arc. But in turn, Miles Colvin played out of his mind. 32 points, 75% from the field. I mean, he was all over the place. So Syracuse struggled to even stop some of the guards that Wake Forest has. It's a big ask, but if the Orange can kind of contain those 2 guards that are known to score well in conference play, you can at least give yourself a fighting chance.
And important to note, Louisville's kind of sliding right now. They've lost 2 straight against good teams, but they are sliding. So again, that just heightens the desperation that this program has right now. And this is when they're supposed to be playing their best basketball, and they're not. So for Louisville, in their eyes, it's a get-right game against a bad Syracuse team. So if you're the Orange, eat that. You know, that's your motivation. Louisville's treating this as their get-right game.
They're treating this as a freebie.
Yeah, their game to figure things out, to tune up before a big game against Miami on the road, a team that is striving for the tournament. So for Syracuse, use that as motivation. Look at
Don't
that. Like,
take
this
that
team.
disrespect.
Yeah, no, this team is treating you as, second pickings, really, as not an exhibition, but
Barbecue
almost
chicken.
as an almost as an exhibition. So you
Right.
got to use that as motivation.
Yeah, you can't let a team, no matter how good they are, treat you like it's just an automatic win. Because if you not buy into that, but if you don't directly oppose that mindset, you're setting yourself up for failure from the very beginning. And you
100%, yeah.
you have to go into every game as, we can beat this team, no matter how good the team is. No matter if it is Duke, if it's UNC or some of the other best teams in the country that Syracuse has played, go into it and treat it with that motivation. Have that motivation of this team is disrespecting us. They want this as a quote-unquote free win. We're not going to do that as Syracuse. We're going to go out there, play our butts off, and we're going to make this a game. And that's, if Syracuse can just have that mindset, that could go a long way. It still might not even be enough to beat Louisville, but at least it can be competitive.
Yeah, it has to be. And again, you hope that you see a competitive game from Syracuse, because that is what fans are all are asking. I'm looking on WAR Sports Talk X, and a lot of people that have commented are just saying the frustration that there is no in-game adjustments, that the team doesn't run plays or anything like that, and it all just comes down to Adrian Autry's coaching. I mean, there's so many comments here that are saying, how is this still happening? It's been happening for weeks. There's no change in game plan. And I agree with all those comments.
Yeah.
There's never been a game. I'm not saying he has to change the starting lineup, because I don't know what you would change, really.
I don't know if
there's not good enough depth to bring off.
Right.
But, I mean, he did that weird thing with Donnie Freeman where he put him on the bench. That made no sense. That was Notre Dame. That made no sense. Anyways, but is there be something you change that's different from Coach Autry? Because I think we saw that maybe a little bit today, and I think Jish kind of agreed with me that they were shooting more threes from the start of the game. I don't love that idea, but have that throughout the game, and also have that to start the second half too, because there wasn't really any adjustment in the second half either from the start. You can tell. What did they talk about at halftime? I don't know. Level 5, was that the halftime adjustment?
Yeah, and maybe that's something that could happen, where Syracuse goes on a bit of a better stretch from beyond the arc and starts taking more threes. But if they're not open looks, I'm not confident in this team at all. And even if they are open looks, it's not going to happen all the time like it did today, where Syracuse just made a lot of those three-pointers and got off to that start. I mean, Syracuse had another start like that. That would be that's wishful thinking.
Like they had today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
just like I said, I don't think they replicate those numbers shooting like they did today.
2 games to go for Syracuse men's basketball before the ACC tournament. And tonight, Syracuse goes out and falls to Wake Forest 88-83, the third to last game of the regular season. On the road, the Orange lose to the Demon Deacons. We're on the double overtime for another 10 minutes, and there's still time for you to get your thoughts in, 315-443-2011. That's how you join us on the double overtime. Jared Valentin alongside AJ Myers. We talked about some positive things from today's game, a lot of negative things from today's game, and what Syracuse can take away from this game moving on to the ACC tournament and the last 2 games of the regular season. And we'll put a bow on it. Before we get to our final words, what did you like the most, AJ, from each half today? What was there?
I don't think there was anything in the second half I particularly liked, because the second half was that inevitable collapse right at the 8-minute mark when Wake Forest went on a 14-5
that inevitable collapse
or 6 run.
That you harp on. What impressed you the most about this game just as a whole? For me, and I think we're pretty in line with this, it's got to be the three-point shooting.
Yeah, or how well that Wake Forest player played today. Colvin, 32 points. That was really impressive. I didn't expect him to go off like that, because as we alluded to, you said perfect. What impressed me as a whole in the game. So from 0 points to 32, holy smoke! And he was nowhere near. First time he's hit 30. Well, now dang it, he had 33 against an irrelevant team. So against an ACC team, this was the first time he hit 30 points. That's crazy.
Remarkable. And
he really doesn't even get anywhere near 20 points. He averages 12 a game. And you let him go off for 32? I know a player's hot. You want to talk about open looks that Syracuse got? Syracuse was giving Wake Forest too many open looks.
Too many in the paint. We talked about that earlier in the show. And even from downtown a little bit, Miles Colvin lit it up. Missed only 1 3-pointer, made 7, and the way that he played and the way that Syracuse just struggled to defend him, it really reminded me of last year when Syracuse went down to Coral Gables, played the worst team in the ACC last year in Miami, and guard Matthew Cleveland put up a pretty similar stat line.
Yeah.
32
that was
points
a bad
as well.
Miami team, too.
32 points as well. Miami was the worst team in the entire conference last year, and still their guard, Matthew Cleveland, lit it up and tore this defense apart. The three-point shooting, though, did impress me. As we mentioned, Syracuse shot over 50%, something it hasn't done all season long. 56% in that first half. Guys like Donnie Freeman and Nate Kings were really doing the heavy lifting. They both combined for 7 of SU's 10 three-pointers. That was impressive. Both of them combined for nearly 30 points in that first half. That was my biggest, well, I don't want to say my biggest takeaway, but the biggest thing that impressed me from the Syracuse side was that three-point shooting. And it's something that is unprecedented for the Orange team. They're third to last in the ACC in terms of three-point shooting. And once in a blue moon, they put up offensive numbers like this. And we keep coming back to this, but in the end, it just does not matter. They lose. They lose by 5. No matter what they do, they have a performance like this where they do something they haven't done all season. They shoot well from beyond the arc, and then they lose by 5 to a subpar Wake Forest team.
Yep, it's just the inevitable happening, and you can just hope that
that's what it all comes
there
back
is.
to.
Autry's been prone to get these upsets. He got against Tennessee this year. He got against North Carolina 2 years ago. Can he get one more out before, as we all are assuming, he will be dismissed once this season is over?
We've got 6 minutes left on the double overtime. Jared Valentin alongside AJ Myers with you after Syracuse falls to Wake Forest 88-83 on the road. And it's time for our final words. So for me, I'll start. Today, pretty obvious. One area gets quote-unquote fixed, and another one becomes an issue. And for me, that three-point shooting was spectacular. I was just talking about it, going through the numbers. Syracuse shot over 50% from beyond the arc in the entire game, which was impressive. 56% in that first half. Freeman and Kings combined for 7 of SU's 10 first-half triples. And you think, okay, Syracuse is doing really well on offense. This has got to be a game where the Orange run away with it in the first half, right? And when one issue, quote-unquote, becomes fixed, another one gets more and more apparent, and that is the paint defense. Syracuse lets up 46 points in the paint. That's the same amount of points that Syracuse had in the first half as a team. And Wake Forest, that keeps them in it throughout the entire game. That combats Syracuse run from beyond the arc, and in turn, that gives Wake Forest momentum. When they start hitting shots even more in the second half, their offense elevates from not only getting easy looks in the paint, but then starts cooking from beyond the arc. You have guys like Miles Colvin, who goes off 7 of 8 from beyond the arc. Wake Forest, as a team, shoots 67% from deep. That's in turn from the confidence they got by getting easy looks in the paint. Wake Forest maintains its shooting from the field, 58% from the floor, 7 points better than Syracuse, and in turn, Syracuse falls. So when one area gets fixed, another one becomes an issue. In this case, the three-point shooting does very well for the Orange, and the paint defense just gets absolutely exploited for Syracuse.
I like that, especially with the paint problems, because I think that was a real reason why the outcome was what it was. My quick final word is change. Change is a-coming. Me and Jared, we've been here for 4 years. We didn't see tournament basketball, and that's a shame. I would have loved to cover tournament basketball, especially for WAER, which I'm so grateful for to be a part of. And to be a part of these double overtimes, can't wait for some change to come, because it needs to happen. It's going to happen. It's starting with the athletic director, and then it's going to be the head coach. And there needs to be some real adjustments, because what this program is doing isn't working. When your coach comes out after the game and calls out the players for not being tough enough, for not having that level 5 throughout the entire season, really not having that consistency throughout the season, that's not what you want to hear from your head coach post-game. And even these players, just how lethargic they've sounded in the last few games is unacceptable, and it's the reason why Syracuse is losing to poor teams like Wake Forest. Can they squeeze out one more upset on Tuesday? We'll have to wait and see. But for a fact, and I think we can reassure all listeners, change is coming.
Yeah, that does it. Syracuse falls 88-83 to Wake Forest down in North Carolina. But our coverage of Syracuse not done just yet. Tomorrow, SU men's lacrosse. We're going to the field for a quick moment. Syracuse taking on number 19 Penn in that road trip, that 6-game road trip from the Orange. A noon game. The double overtime goes up until 4 p.m. And then a few days later, Syracuse back in action on the road against Louisville. A 9 o'clock tip-off. The double overtime goes up until 1 a.m. with Dan Shallum and Ben Chadwick. Don't miss it. Don't miss how this rest of the Syracuse season plays out. So that's our double overtime coverage. You can also tune into the Ostrom Avenue podcast wherever you get your podcasts or on WAER.org as well. That's been AJ Myers and Jared Valentin from WAER Syracuse. But before we sign off, a few thank yous to hand out. Our producer, Nico Horning, our engineer, Luke Burgess, our reporter and play-by-play broadcaster, Jish Sokolsky, and our WAER Sports Talk Desk, Cadence Kiloff, Sydney Chan, and Daniel Herzog. That does it for AJ Myers. I've been Jared Valentin. Syracuse falls 88-83 to Wake Forest in its third to last regular season game.